start. My part is not as important. Steve can come later.
And then that gave them energy.
So I'm Lloyd Smith. I'm the president of CFEDC, and I want to say thanks for coming out. I have a few just notes or housekeeping items I just want to mention. If you haven't signed up, we have the sign-up sheet in the back, and we'll make sure that that gets passed around. That way you get our email alerts directly instead of having to wait until the last minute like some people told me they did. But we appreciate you coming out, even though there was very little time for some of you. We are also now beginning to roll out membership for individuals, corporations. So there's some sheets in the back that give you some information about that. It's not full steam yet. We're just getting started with it, but I just wanted to give you that information. So there's some little sheets back there. I promised Tony McKeown that I would mention also the job creation summit that Mike McIntyre is hosting on the 29th at 10 to noon at Cape Fear Community College tomorrow. So you're informed. It's on our calendar too, in case you forget about it. Our next monthly meeting. We are so far ahead of the game now that we're announcing next month's meeting. Thanks to Chris O'Keefe for organizing a forum on transportation. I didn't get the details on the slide, so I'm sorry. It will be on the website tomorrow. I'm sorry. I was pulling the slides together until the last minute. I also want to mention we have a new program coordinator, Brian Wetherington, who's also a graduate of the MBA program recently, and I don't see Ryan here yet. That's probably class. Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, I had some details about his background, but I'll tell you, he's very enthusiastic, very bright, and for his age, and how long he's been in the field, he's well connected. So, we were really glad to have him. Just want to give you a little background in case you don't know much about Cape Fear EDC. So, mission and vision, these are on the website, but in a sense, we're focused on sustainable economic development. So we're about jobs, we're about increasing our tax base, we're not about necessarily just green or clean tech, but those fit squarely within what we want to see happen here, among other kinds of industries, including tech generally and manufacturing as well. But you'll find out more about the organization on the website if you're interested. We have a 14-member board of directors, and you'll see some of us around. All of us have these little badges on, so you'll know who are board members. We're inclusive, business-minded. Obviously, all of us are business people. Some attorneys, some architects, tech people, wide variety, real estate, wide variety of different types of backgrounds. And so, more about the organization on the website if you're interested in that. We've had a variety of different kinds of meetings in the last year. This is one that we're getting back to that was very enthusiastic about, on which we actually submitted a grant proposal. And I'll talk about this a little later, but most recently the Arts Council bit, which you've probably seen in the news, which we hosted a forum about pushing for funding for the arts. And other forums we've had, just one earlier this year on envisioning for economic development and financing startup, school board candidate forum, pre-election. So a wide variety of different types of events. So I wanted to give a quick introduction to Cleantech for those of you who are not familiar with this. It's not necessarily a sector as you would consider manufacturing or IT. It is an investment asset class. It's technology. It's sometimes called a business sector. It's largely about products and services that are clean, like clean energy, that are environmentally oriented or sustainable and green. There's more to it, but some of the important characteristics are that it's focused on solutions to global challenges. And that's a bit vague, but we're talking about energy, sustainability, climate, carbon capture, those kinds of topics. But it's not just about being good or being green. It's about competitive return. So we're looking at this as economically viable and interesting from an economic investor perspective. And Tom will be talking about the investment side of it a bit more later. So I'll let Tom talk about some of these other aspects. One thing I want to point out is some of the misconceptions about Cleantech happening here. I don't think that we lack the expertise, infrastructure, or capital, but even if we didn't have enough of it, I think we're uniquely positioned to attract it. People come here for a lot of reasons, but largely it's about the quality of this place in which we live. And they can do their business in a lot of places. Of course, they need intellectual human capital, for example, but they can attract those people here. That it costs too much to grow a new industrial economic sector here. I think our money is better spent pursuing this than growing tourism, my personal opinion. I think that this has more potential for us. That this is actually something that one of our elected officials said, that Cleantech, he used the term green, cannot compete without government subsidies, and that it's not ready for prime time. So I would say maybe in a limited scope people have seen that aspect of it, but there's a bigger world out there in other places. Cleantech and green are one of the hottest investment classes. That the greenest industries still pollute. I think that's true, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be pursuing cleaner and greener technologies. That's just a few of the things I wanted to bring up, and I think some of our speakers will address some of those points. So what do we have to do with Cleantech, or what have we done about this? Well, just a few things. 2009, we did a grant proposal. We were a finalist for a Green Business Fund, but did not get funded. 2010, Tom wrote an essay for the Business Journal and Green Building Alliance competition on visions of green Wilmington. And that was a winner for us in terms of visions for the future of the region. That was about growing Cleantech. So that's another thing that we've sort of got under our belt as far as credibility on the topic. And this year, Tom, myself, and Shar all joined this 7th Congressional Task Force on green business. That hopefully is something that will continue to push forward clean tech and green business here. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It's certainly a good opportunity to try to make a difference and advance this here. Recent history, I'm not going to go into all this because I want to save time for our speakers, but I do want to mention, if you look at that 2007 line, 770,000 U.S. jobs. I think this was from the Pew report on green business. So if Cleantech represents 770,000 jobs, at that point in time, biotech was 200,000. Traditional energy, oil, coal, gas, about 1.3 million. So with Cleantech on the rise, you can see that in time, this is going to rapidly outstrip a lot of the other sectors that we generally consider to be big drivers in our economy. In 08 and 09, both years running, I didn't actually investigate further, that I found that investments in Cleantech exceeded fossil fuel infrastructure investments for the first time. And one can expect that over time that's going to continue to grow. 09 was a down year generally, I think, for all investments, including Greentech. But Tom keeps reminding us that 09, this was declared somewhat of a space race, if you think about it. China, the European Union, the U.S., in terms of investments, but also potential to be an economic driver and a job creator. Cleantech is where the United States, China, EU, in particular Germany, Denmark, and some others are really focused on growing their economies. So it's something that we can't ignore. We need to be competitive on. Where we stand regionally and in the nation, this The Southeast is first in terms of regions of the country, which is great, but North Carolina is 41st against all other states in terms of job creation and clean tech. South Carolina, with a smaller population, adjusted per capita, has the equivalent of 6,000 more jobs in clean tech than we do, as of, I think this was 2009. So we have some catching up to do. There is a clean tech cluster forming in South Carolina. I was reading about this yesterday. So we need to catch up. I think that our region, as well as the RTP region, can do that. We just need to pay attention to what we already have and cultivate the clean tech businesses and opportunities that already exist. So why promote this? As I mentioned, it is expected to be the major job creation engine in the U.S. for the next decade. And it, of course, fits into the overall scheme for what we've been talking about, both Cape Fear EDC as well as Cape Fear Future and the state generally, about knowledge worker-centric, creative economy, intellectual property-driven economic development. As well, we have this regional pollution issue, so we're up against a wall in terms of polluting industries that we can attract. So clean tech, yes, it will have some externalities, some pollution as well, but probably not like heavily polluting industries. So it fits in terms of that context as an area of focus. Plus, it's where the growth is. If you look at wind and PV, solar, expectations for up to 2020, there's an enormous amount of build-out expected, and our speakers later will talk about this more in telling me than I can. But that's the main reason for focusing on this sector or this technology. With that, I just want to quickly say, so who has to do this? Let me just say that I think basically down this line from the U.S. Department of Commerce, Southeast Regional, North Carolina Department of Commerce, North Carolina Southeast, our regional partner, and Wilmington Industrial Development, as well as all of these folks, and a lot of these are already involved in clean tech initiatives. But also some of these folks are going to be involved. Certainly we are focused on this. I believe that Cape Fear Future will see the wisdom in pursuing this. There are lots of organizations here locally who need to and will participate in this, as I imagine.